So first of all, this is not a sales call necessarily. We are just sort of going through a product review. We're going to sort of outline some of the capabilities of what we can do. And then what we're hoping for is at least some guidance in terms of what IEC members this would be best suited for. And that's it. We're just going to show you guys what the product can do and sort of highlight the use case that we believe we're best suited for. So getting started here, just a very minimal amount of slides, then we can get right into the product. So first of all, our system is designed to help win commercial electrical bids using artificial intelligence. And when we looked into how to do this, it basically came down to three things. One was, how do we get the lowest possible cost for the subcontractor? You can add as much margin in as you want, but you should have the ability to do that. And so we want to optimize your material lists. Number two, most complete. We want to be able to allow you to address all the specs. You can be strategic around change orders, but you should not have any surprises in terms of what you're looking at with a commercial bid. And then finally, maximum choice. So being able to quickly spin up alternates while your competitors are still kind of struggling to put together a base bid, where you're coming in there with three options, is going to make you look great. And research shows it can increase your win rates by like 5 to 10 percentage points. So when we were looking at this, this is also going to save you about 20 hours a month for someone who's not using a strong system for material management. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a couple minutes. But basically, what our system does is a summary. We optimize for the lowest cost materials. We flag missing specs and line items so you don't get change ordered. And we help you create VE alternates in one click. Then I also had a fourth caveat, which is I know there's a significant training time on a lot of these softwares. You could pick ours up day one, and I'll show you what this looks like in a minute. But basically, 5-minute onboarding. There's no courses. We don't have any seminars or anything like that. It's immediate. As you look like through our interface, just a couple things to point out. Our system is reasoning through or thinking through your materials, which separates us from almost any of these other platforms. And the benefit to you is that it can think through things like, okay, the specs of this material are X, and here are Y related materials. Or, hey, this thing can take my materials and find me something across vendors that I might not have considered before. Or, hey, this thing can create a lighting fixture package with the same luminaire specs that shaves $15,000 off my bid as an alternate, right? So there's all sorts of things that our system can do because we built reasoning directly into the software itself. So Erin, as I'm talking through this stuff, early reactions, early thoughts.
Yeah, I'm
tracking.
I'm just thinking through what you're saying. Like I've used ConEst, I've used AccuBid, and I've used an Excel spreadsheet. I've had design build where it's just pencil paper. And then like when I was working with Milwaukee Public Schools years ago, their spec book was 300 pages, and that was just the electrical. I mean, like that wasn't, but their spec book was 300 pages, and it was like a separate code book. And they sent, like, Milwaukee would come in and inspect per NEC, and then Milwaukee Public Schools would come in and inspect per their spec book a year later, of course. And it caused a lot of heartburn. So I've seen all sorts, like I've seen it from every direction on that front. Like the integration from the specs thing, that's because, like, I mean, I talk about that with the students, but then I have my horror stories of Milwaukee Public Schools where specs were probably the most involved and the most rigid. And like it hemmed up the electrical contractor I was working for. And people would go work for Milwaukee Public Schools, lose money, and leave and never do work with them again. And that's essentially how things worked with Milwaukee Public Schools. And kind of everything in between.
Are you using anything right now? Are you using AccuBid now or any of the other ones?
I didn't like AccuBid. I have ConEst, and I've used it a couple times. I found their labor hours were high, so I'm still trying to like figure out where their labor hours come in, because like I've done a couple where I do the job, I work the job, and I bid it, using like an Excel spreadsheet and what I jokingly call the tingling in my anus. And then sorry, Paige. And then I'll, look at the hard data of how long it actually took to do it. And then I'll actually take it off in ConS and see the difference for it. And there's been, like I've had as high as a 50% difference between ConS and reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so those spreadsheets.
Up or down?
ConS was high. And then AccuBid was, I did not like AccuBid. AccuBid, you have to put a lot of time in. Like AccuBid, I assume is really good if you have professional estimators that all they do is estimate all day long, because then you have a giant program and you have your chief estimator like manicuring your pre-builds and stuff like that. Whereas like ConS had more out of the box type stuff where, you'd go to take off like a run and then you'd say, okay, it's EMT. And then it would, it's 2-inch EMT or like 2.5-inch EMT with 4/4 in it. And it goes, okay, what type of coupling do you want? What type of support system are you planning? How many like junctions, and then from there, you tick those down and then it kind of backfill. And then, like how often do you want to support? Well, about 7 feet. And then from there it backfills, what you're looking for. And it builds that. That's how ConS works. AccuBid was much more hand jamming.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now, like looking through this, like I do, like I know, like I have found good money in doing design build work. So some of this works some of this stuff works really well if you do a lot of like McDonald's or a lot of like if you do mainly commercial, because they're working a little bit more white boxed and more standard. I will say when I did cell sites, the only problem with cell sites is they write prints and they write specs, and then they don't use the prints and they don't use the specs. So what happens is like I've had a couple times where I've had it out with an inspector and we've had to get the engineers involved. But like AT&T, for example, like they want you to build the cell site a certain way, and then you say, well, we built it according to the prints, and AT&T will go, well, why would you do that? You know better than to build it according to the prints. And because they don't want to spend more money on prints, so they end up turning in basically useless prints. And so we get to these sites and like, it's calling for, 4-inch, PVC schedule 40. And then all of a sudden you're sitting out there, trying to tell the inspector, well, that's what AT&T says on their prints, but that's not what they actually want. According to their other stuff. And then that stuff goes through version. So cell sites they're a different animal, but yeah, so I'm just, like I've been all around the, commercial industrial world. So it's like certain segments, this works really well with. Other segments, it's like, I don't know. I would be interested to see how well it works. And part of it is, some of it is like, I spend a lot of time reading specs and all boilerplate, and I'm looking for the thing that's hidden in there to screw me, essentially. And that's the one thing that like keeps me up at night is it's sort of like we're gonna screw you on footnote 3 subparagraph S. Like you just need to you need to get there and read it because like it's in there and you don't know it's in there. Yeah, that keeps me up at night.
We've seen that. We've seen the copy and paste. I'm sure you've seen the copy and paste. That's a common one. The commercial guys, they're like, oh, they just copy and paste these specs on every job. Where does it come from? It's like, oh, they just didn't want to write. Yeah,
because I've seen specs where it's like they're calling for they're calling for stuff, and like they might have a whole section about service equipment, and then it's like there's no service in this job. Like we're dropping in a sub panel. There's no service equipment. Like this whole portion of the specs is useless. So I'm interested to see how how that can be dealt with, because there is even like, I'm really interested in that, because like to some extent, like you mean that I would love to say all the prints are well drawn, and so frequently they are not well drawn.
Yeah, for sure. All right, yeah, let me show you how this works.
Yeah.
So in here, I just took one of our example plans. So I'm just going to walk you guys through a normal bid. So in here, right, you've got some massive general notes page. I'm just going to go down to page 3 here. One thing to point out is, so our system, like I mentioned, does read like all the notes and all the specs on every page. So an easy one for me to call out for us to check later is this one right here: contractor to coordinate all service, each tenant. I'm going to control F this on our notes so that you know that we're pulling everything out of this plan. And then here you've got, this is just a standard commercial project that we bid in Florida, right? It's 5 tenants. You got some panels here, got some other stuff, etc. Loading it up here. We have a phased system where I have someone come through and do all the, device detection. Here are the outlets, the lights, etc. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and export the legend of this, which is just what you see here on the left-hand side. It's just a list of quantities and materials. Download this here. Come through. Always. Sorry about that.
Is this delivered over the internet?
Yeah, this is fully cloud-based. This is not our software, by the way. This is the takeoff software that we use just to do, estimating. So, or just our, just the takeoff component.
Oh, okay.
Like here's the fully spec, drawn out plans with the wiring decisions from our estimator on this job. Just for the sake of expediency, we've combined everything into a single bid here. So this is these are all our materials, panels, etc. If I come in here, now you can do 2 things. So what I've done here is taken the exports. Let's say that you have a system that requires multiple exports or something like that. You can import multiple different files for your bill of materials. So if you're pulling them from different systems or anything like that, you can this system will, you just keep adding them here. I've already uploaded the plans, electrical, and then I'm going to put my input project here, the one that I just showed you, which is this one. So when I hit start, our system is going to pull all the line items out and look them up in our material database. So we partner with a company called B&T Wire as our vendor, especially for demos. And so they've sent us a price file, and so our system is going to look up through their catalog of about 7,000 items what the best fit is for each item. And the benefit of this approach is you can do things like put in 2-inch conduit, that sort of thing, and our system will match, or just duplex receptacle. You don't need to be super precise unless you want to add the specs in later. And our system will automatically match to the best fit, most commonly used item. And so actually, in the interest of time, I've already made one of these. And so you can see here, this is what it would look like when it's matched. So we're gonna have to disregard this. We're in the dev environment. Some of the developers have some stuff going on. It's perfectly fine. It just means it's thinking. So it's matched every single material. And if I, control copy into my price file here, it's matching here, right? Now this one's a little bit trickier because the way NECA is lined up, we use NECA by default. It's not as easy to control F, but I'll show you really quickly. I actually pre-looked this up before. So it's harder to check because you can see like it matched to number 6 of this, but if you control F just this, you will not be able to find it. But you can see like this, it's on the normal setting. So we were applying 0.0099 labor units right here. So that's how we're matching on the labor units. So it's reasoning through both your materials and your labor units that way. And for a little proof of this, you'll notice that it matched a stranded copper, and that's because most of the common commercial specs will require stranded wire for gauge sizes above 10 AWG. Our system just knows that. So it's beneficial for small contractors, we think, because it'll take a lot of that extra brain power away from when you're putting their bids together. And just to show you that it is reasoning through, I mean, these are pretty much all the same relative to, just color. But if I come down to something like this one, right, you can see that it's there. You have other selections here. So if I wanted something else, you can select this. If it's not exact, if that product is not exactly what I want, it'll update the unit price. It'll update the material cost. If I look this up, like this is a real product, right? It's not just from a spreadsheet. Yeah, see, that's still matching. Down here at the bottom, we've added a whole bunch of, invoicing options. Right now, we do have to fix, there's a small copy issue, which is materials is technically materials and labor combined. I know a lot of people like to break it out. We will be breaking that out. That's not a huge lift. Accessories, site work, G&A expense. You can add sales tax in if you want on your materials. Some people have requested that. We have a risk insurance, which is basically thought of as a contingency for change orders. If you want to put that in as well and see how much you want on the risk. And then your profit margin's calculated on all of that, and you've got your total cost here. And so you can export this to an invoice, and you'll have a fully itemized list of your materials, your labor hours, your prices, everything down here. And then you can sort of put this into your invoicing system or whatever you want to do. So if you need to turn a bid around very quickly, especially, the system's great for that. Any questions on the matching side so far?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. So our system also provides, filters, smart filters, so to apply and reason through groupings of your materials. So like if I click lighting, our system automatically understands what your lights are. So this is helpful for creating like fixture-based alternates, things like that. The notes, if I control F, tenant coordinate, what was it? Coordinate. This general note here is exactly the one that we pulled from the specs. And one of the things we haven't really talked about, but would be a benefit, is this export. If you want to be able to read this all at once, you can do that. You don't necessarily have to, but just to show, we mostly just put it here as a sanity check in terms of being able to flag all the notes that are associated with your drawings. And then we use an AI to read through this document as well, right? So like, for example, we have a missing item here, fire alarm control panel. Specs are calling for a fire alarm. We don't see a fire alarm on this invoice. Do you want to exempt it? What do you want to do? Temporary power. It's got the supporting note that corresponds in the citation for temporary power for this. And this will allow you to decide what you want to exempt and what you want to include, but making sure that you're not missing things. You're not missing specs. So
can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Erin, you mentioned something earlier about like finding things in the notes, right? And so a lot of what Will just showed with seeing all the different products, being able to select and find like that's kind of table stakes, right? And it's not like super interesting or innovative. The interface is nice and it makes it easy to do that. But that's really the foundation of enabling this magic, right? And some of the magic that that Will's going to show in a minute with the chatting stuff. And so this is where you get into that, like how on earth can I start to guarantee that my analysis of all the notes isn't going to get me, or I'm not going to miss something against, you know, whatever other conditions I might have for this particular job. And so this is definitely like part of the big value add for this. There's a value engineering part, which we'll show in a minute, but this is a big one that a lot of people have brought to us, right? Which is that we've seen so many jobs have issues after they win the bid, right? Or issues losing a bid because they were not able to properly map what was in the notes because they missed it, right? For one reason or another. So this is an area that gets a lot of attention for us by our team, and continuing to dial this in more and more. And you know, we expect a lot of added functionality to this part over time, because that's where there's a lot of time savings for folks, and where AI can do a really good job at helping people do this effectively, right? So, so that's it. I just kind of want to bring that up. Like this is where like the really impactful part of the software starts to have its way.
Yeah. Normally when I read through specs, I'll color code them, and I usually, if it is something that I would normally hit just by being a good electrician, like then I don't flag the note at all. So if it's something like, you know, do work according to the NEC, or make sure your wire size is right, like those kinds of notes, like I just ignore them because like I'm not a shitty electrician.
Right. Don't suck at your job.
Yeah, like I don't suck at my job. And then if it's like interesting but not impactful, I'll flag those in one color. And then in the other color, if it's impactful on like from a price or performance perspective, then I flag those as things like we're definitely going to need to hit. And those I usually like highlight in red. And a lot of this has been hand jamming, but that's what I'll look at, you know what I mean? Because like there's a lot of notes that are just like, and I've even talked to architects about this, because I'm like, some of your notes are like just follow, like if you were following code, you would hit this note. Like it's like you would have, you know, like use equipment grounds, like you were going to use those, like you either were not going to build this project right or you were going to do it. But then other ones where they're like, you know, certain performance, you know, like if they want, you know, federal spec or square D specific material. So like Milwaukee Public Schools required square D specific, but then there's also those performance notes where it's like, I can give you another Milwaukee example. They did not want box extensions. So like they didn't want, I mean, you couldn't use a box extension on like a 4-square to get more space for your wire fill. And so that ended up being something that like it's not something that is driving an estimation, but it's something that has to get driven down to the journeyman level or foreman level, so that they're not thinking they can just throw an extension on a box and keep going on with life or something like
and
that.
It's in exactly like these things that you're describing, like these are the exact directions that we see this particular feature going, with sort of what it bubbles up to the surface.
Yeah.
And saying like, hey, we see these things on every job, you know, these are table stakes for the job, don't even show them, all the way up to like, hey, this is a really weird one, so we're going to put it on top.
Yeah.
Right? We don't see this across, you know, the hundreds of blueprints and thousands of notes that we have. So let's put that on top and bring it to your attention.
Yeah, because half the time when I'm opening up a new set of prints and taking a look at it, the first question I'm asking is like what wiring methodology can I use? What cabling methodology can I use? Are there any specifics about the facility, wet, dry, class 1, div 1, or hazardous location, something like that? You know, I mean, I'm asking for like my project parameters, and it's like sometimes I'm like, I wish that was just listed out. Like this project's going to be an EMT. You're going to use, you know, you're going to use anything over 75 feet needs to be 10 gauge wire on a 20. You know, like voltage drop in commercial projects is always something that I search for in prints, because they always say something there. And you know, just I call it like the project vital statistics, and then that way I can go into this going, okay, I know I'm going to be using EMT or MC cable, and we're going to be, you know, and then that kind of drives a whole mess of decisions.
Gotcha. Yeah, our system is designed to rank by financial severity. So whatever is going to throw the bid off by the most gets brought up to the top.
Okay.
So like, because like fire alarm control panel usually it means like you're missing a whole bunch of stuff, right? You might be missing. They might not have included a fire. The specs might have had fire alarm on the main page, and a page didn't get uploaded, and so the estimator missed it, or there's all sorts of things there. Just to show you this works in a non-canned way, temporary light and power, here's the supporting note. If I go into the specs here, that's right here, right? So we are reading everything and pulling it directly into our system. And what our thought process on this, like Mike said, is especially for people who are, if you're a smaller electrician, like we've talked to people who don't want to, they have limits on how much they'll work because they don't want to miss stuff in specs because they're tired or something like that. And they're like, I could only do a certain amount of hours of estimating to ensure that I don't incur financial losses. And so we're hoping that this can help help that. And then the other one that we're gonna discuss is this side over here. So when we initially, sort of talked about competitive bids, it's lowest price, which this system is researching, going through your materials, and it can go through cross vendors, approved vendors, things like that. One other thing I didn't hit that I should have is the fact that you can apply your labor modifiers here at the settings level. So if you don't like this, if you've got a labor base bid or base rate, you can apply it to everything. You can also apply it to single line items here as well. So see if this might update the price, but it didn't update the labor hours. And so you can change all sorts of things on the labor side as well in this part. And then finally, so the final one is the VE options through the chat. So if I want to generate an aluminum feeder, I'm going to hit this button, but I actually already generated one over here. And it should tell you exactly what it did. But basically what it's going to do is swap out your feeders, right, your case and mill, for aluminum feeder cable. And it actually knew what to look for, which is this 600. This is the best match that it found in your material catalog for that material. And the other problem that it ran into, so it knew enough to find the proper product. It also matched the labor. You can see these are pretty different descriptions as well. So it does understand what this is. And it upsized the conduit. Now it might have over upsized it, but it did think through the fact that your PVC conduit needs to be upsized for this new feeder cable. And this alternate is roughly 20 grand less than your base bid. And so you can easily export this too. And now you've got your second estimate in there.
Now it's worth noting that, Will had that one on there, right? Copper to aluminum. That's our first one that we have like sort of pre-built. And we'll go through the chatting in a minute. We're going to continue to add to those. So there'll be more and more of these value engineering sort of pre-settings. You can say, hey, I want to see this one, I want to see that one, right? Get me from this, price per square foot to this price per square foot. We've heard that one from folks. We've heard folks say, hey, it'd be great if I could do like energy efficient. What would it take to get to LEED certified, right? There's all these those are not exactly value engineering, but like there's a bunch of these things where it's like, hey, get me from here to there, that we're going to be pre-building and continuing to add to that list of pre-built options in addition to being able to type, which we'll show in a minute.
Yeah, like you mentioned, design build. We've had people ask us for, hey, do a load calculation. Like, are we using too much power? Right? Is this service too large? And so, that's the kind of stuff the system can reason through because it understands your materials and understands your products.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I just wrapped a 200 to 600 amp service increase, which was a design build project, and for a stamping plan, and we're actually going through a couple more service increases with them in other parts of their building. But but yeah, like those, like I like doing the more design build type stuff because I find it weeds out a bunch of electricians that don't know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
you can make better margins. Does it, with that 600 going to the 6-inch, does it break it up into like does it know when to do something in parallel or increase the number of parallels for a run, or so yeah, so running, so there, you mean like electrons run on the surface area, not in the volume. So
Right.
so your volume grows on a cube rate, your surface area grows on a square rate. And so when you double your capacity with wire, you cube your volume, and so you get diminishing marginal returns. And so I have found a couple times where, taking a run and saying, okay, obviously you have to be above 1 aught in order to do it, and that's a code thing. But like I spec'd out, I was doing a design build and I was working on it, and this was just in the initial plans, but it's going to like from 2000 amp to 6000 amp service.
Mm-hmm.
And like I actually ran it a couple ways in terms of, well, what if we ran parallel 500s? Well, what if I ran parallel 250s and just added more parallel runs? And what it was that, like, I think one way, like with 500s, it was like one less run, but it was something like $700 a foot. So when you added the PVC and all the copper and this many runs, for every foot we needed to go, it was going to be $700. Whereas when we added an extra run, but we shrunk all the wire, shrunk all the conduit, and we had that extra run, and then we were at something like $400 a foot. I think it was more like it was probably in the fives, like 550. And so we were able to, we were able to do that, save money, because like now that was just on save $150 a foot, but now we're going 40 feet with all this. So going 40 feet, all of a sudden this becomes a very material number.
So our goal with this platform is to allow you to do exactly what you just said by typing it into that chat box and say, hey, make me a new one, but make these changes to it.
Okay.
Right. And have it create a new tab if you scroll up a little bit, Will, to where the tabs are.
Mm-hmm.
So, so each one of these tabs is a new takeoff. And of course, you have this chat box on the left-hand side, and you're able to ask it questions, and you're able to ask it to do things. And that chat box affects the tab that you're on right now. So if you click into another tab, the idea is that, you can ask questions there.
Yeah,
some of the functionality we're adding is to be able to say, hey, in this chat box, I can say, hey, make me a new one.
Yeah.
Right. That makes these changes, and then it makes a new tab and makes those changes within the takeoff. And so we're partially there on the functionality that I just described to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's our goal with this value engineering functionality to allow you to do what you just said by just asking it to do that, and have it make a new tab and show you and get through those results quicker. And the idea here is that it accelerates your ability to do that, and reduces your time and effort involved. So you did this already for this job. Like, how long did that take you?
Oh, it was a while.
Right. And so like the premise of this entire platform is to take the while that it takes to do that and really reduce it down to you just asking this to do it, and then being able to scroll through. There are aspects of this work that it's never going to be perfect. This is an estimation tool to help you estimate, right? So, but to get you almost all the way there, make the majority of the changes that you want, allow you to go through and say, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. Oh, I actually, because of some condition that the software would never know about, hey, I want to, add a little more of this. I want to reduce that, whatever, right? But like taking the major lift off your shoulders is the exact problem we're trying to solve here. So yeah, like the stuff that you're talking about aligns exactly with like how we would hope someone like you would use this.
Now for the labor hours, there was sort of the hard, medium, hard, medium, light,
Yeah.
labor houring. Is there like, so one of
Which is all configurable, by the way. Like, we
Okay.
have values in here today, but you would set those, and
Okay,
you make those what you need them to be.
like 5% more by tiering or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because one of the things, like, I know ConS does this. This was something I actually took the Candel's estimating class too, when I was first learning estimation, which was very helpful actually. But like some of the stuff they mentioned was, like when you start working above 8 to 10 feet, adding labor hours. When you work above the 3rd floor of a building, adding labor hours, because now you have a non-trivial time in elevators going up and down, dragging material. Like those types of things. I know like ConEst is asking, like it'll say, how high are the ceilings, and then how high are you? Oh, I'm on ground floor, or oh, I'm on the 15th floor of this building working. So, and that's something from personal experience. Like one of the things is that especially the height in the building. So you go, wow, the building's got 10-foot ceilings. That's not bad. But we're on the 20th floor. You know what I mean? And it's like, and we're schlepping everything. And if you forget the screws, we're back down in the freight elevator and we're back up. Like that's something that I've found kind of does a little bit of it, but it's sort of a frequent miss point in estimating, just like as part of like the dirty dozen of things people, and even including me in this category, miss when estimating.
Yeah, it's definitely our goal to make it easy for you to build in, but that definitely fits in the category of like, there are things the software is just never going to know.
Yeah.
And so, allowing you to be able to see what the current, settings are for all the costs, and for you to be able to add and manipulate this in a way that you're able to build that in easily is kind of where we're headed right now. There could possibly be a future where we're analyzing blueprints, understanding that, there's some kind of multiplier, every 5 floors, that you increase by or something like that. But
yeah,
that's probably far off, right?
There's some tables like that. I know the ConS had there's some table stuff like that. The interface with the pricing, like any interfacing with like Epic or shoot, what's the other one? It's the one
we're building functionality.
Yeah, like NetPricer or anything like that.
Go ahead.
We have some like early price files from them. We are working on those integrations. But part of the problem with those are they seem to be a little high on the material cost side as well. So we are trying to get real pricing from suppliers additionally. But
we do have all that pricing, and we're working towards the functionality to allow you to incorporate your own vendors, your own material data as well. So that, it's a lot of folks we've talked to, they use half a dozen suppliers. They use 12 suppliers, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Hey, Morgan, you raised your hand, or was it?
Yeah.
You're muted.
Morgan, you're muted. Morgan is our
hold on,
commercial electrician co-founder, by the way.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah. So I also own a supply company, so we do have some integration going on with B&T Supply as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try and get the pricing more to reflect, what the market is actually producing, especially on volume. Just wanted to interject that. Thank you.
No, I know I've had, I can't remember. I'm actually trying to look it up right now. But like I use, I can't remember who it is, but it's NetPricer or NetPack. I think it might be NetPack, but like so what they ended up doing is you picked your supply house. And so like I have Mars Electric as one of my supply houses, and then my pricing from Mars Electric gets loaded into my ConS system,
Mhm.
and
Gotcha.
it's using price. So it's not using Mars Electric generic off the street pricing, but it's using Mars Electric, Etlo Electric's street pricing, which is those two things are obviously completely different numbers.
Yeah.
Like I'm buying a Foursquare cheaper than, but I buy thousands of them. So
Of course, yeah, it's tiered pricing based on volume.
yeah. So I mean, like, that's one thing I wondered about the pricing, because I think I'm using, I want to say it's NetPack.
That's good to know. Okay.
But I think Epic owns NetPack now or something like that. When I was working with Accubid had an integration with that too, and they would use so they had like 3 places set up. Like this was in Milwaukee, so it was like Viking Electric, Gray Bar or CED, and then if they didn't have it, they'd go to market price, and then it would display market, and so it would, you could see, okay, this is cheaper at Mars, this is cheaper at Viking, this is cheaper at CED. We couldn't find this anywhere, so we just went with market price, and that's how Accubid did it, but it was a little wonky. Anyways,
Cool. Yeah.
Continue.
Erin, what are your thoughts on the software overall?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I definitely would enjoy playing around with it too. Because it does have merits to it. It's doing something different than it's doing something different than like McCormick, Accubid, or ConS, which are the three people in the space that are the most. One thing I thought about was does it scan the because I saw that you guys do MEP. Does it scan the mechanicals or plumbing for any electrical that might be in them? Like, because I have found there's some more mechanical than in plumbing, but one of the things that I always keep an eye out for is random electric, because they kind of take the electrical print and do this and throw it everywhere in the print.
Yeah.
And so you'll see like there's some throwaway notes in mechanical that can like you're responsible for the disconnects or something like that, where it's like that can, in a commercial project that's thousands of dollars.
Gotcha.
I had a plumber tell me once that the mechanical, he was a master plumber, and he goes hidden in the mechanical prints was that the plumber was responsible for all hookups to the HVAC or to the mechanicals, and it was like, oh well, that was unhelpful. I mean, so I mean like.
So I would just say that the current iteration of it, that is a step that we're working towards. Will, have you explained the full vision to her, how it's going to be, a 3D model?
No, we're just keeping it simple right now with
so
that engineering side.
I gotcha. Okay, so that's kind of a discussion for a different time then.
Yeah. I see the merits. Like I really see the merits. It's doing something different, which is good. Like saying we're going to reinvent ConS is silly because ConS exists, but doing something different where it's and scanning through and digesting the, somebody hands me a print to even relatively small government jobs. It comes with just a flood of information.
Yeah.
An absolute flood of information, and having something that helps weed through that flood of information to make sure I'm not screwing myself is really important.